Imagine you're driving down a pitch black back road, the only sound being the low hum of your tires against the pavement. Suddenly, your headlights catch a reflection, not the soft amber of deer eyes, but two glowing blood-red orbs situated 7 feet off of the ground. A pair of massive, tattered wings unfurls, and before you can even scream, the creature is keeping pace with your car at 80 miles per hour. This isn't just a campfire story, this is the chilling reality for dozens of witnesses who have come face to face with the Mothman. From the industrial ruins of 1960s West Virginia to the modern skyscrapers of downtown Chicago, this entity has appeared just before some of history's greatest tragedies. Today we're breaking down 10 real Mothman sightings that left people absolutely terrified. We've gathered the police reports, the photographic evidence, and the harrowing eyewitness testimony to prove that something truly unexplained is out there. Buckle up, because these accounts are enough to make anyone dread the dark. Our journey begins in a place where you'd already expect to feel a chill down your spine, a quiet cemetery. On a cold, misty morning in West Virginia, 5 men were working in a local graveyard, focused on the somber task of preparing a burial plot. The silence was broken when Kenneth Duncan looked up and saw something that defied the known laws of biology. A brown human shape rose from the dense trees nearby and soared directly over their heads. Duncan noted that it didn't flap its wings like a bird or a bat. It glided with an eerie mechanical precision, almost like a silent drone from another world. The men stood frozen, shovels in hand, as the massive silhouette blocked out the morning sun for a fleeting, terrifying moment. This was the very first recorded sighting of what would become the 1966 flap. There were no feathers, no beak, and no bird-like sounds, just a man-shaped figure with wings that seemed to span over 10 feet. The workers were so deeply shaken that they reportedly dropped their tools and refused to finish their work until the sun was high in the sky and the shadows had retreated. If you think you can outrun your fears, think again. Just 3 days after the graveyard sighting, 2 young couples, the Scarberrys and the Millettes, were cruising through the TNT area, a sprawling abandoned World War II explosives manufacturing facility near Point Pleasant. The site was a maze of rusted bunkers and overgrown woods. As they passed a pair of old iron gates, their headlights hit something impossible. A pair of glowing red eyes about 6 inches apart, reflecting with an intensity that seemed self-luminescent. Roger Scarberry, who was behind the wheel, described a 7-foot-tall creature that appeared clumsy on its feet, but moved with terrifying grace once it took to the air. As the group panicked and floored the accelerator towards the town of Point Pleasant, the creature didn't just fly away, it hunted them. Despite the car's speedometer hitting 100 miles per hour, the Mothman stayed right above the roof, emitting a high-pitched squeaking sound that Linda Scarberry compared to a giant mouse. They arrived at the police station pale and trembling. Deputy Millard Halstead later remarked that he had known these kids all their lives and had never seen them so genuinely petrified. Terror doesn't always stay in the woods, sometimes it follows you to your front door. The very next night, Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Wamsley and Mrs. Marcella Bennett were visiting friends who lived in a small bungalow near the edge of the TNT area. As they stepped out of their car, a large dark figure rose up from behind the parked vehicle. Marcella Bennett was so overcome with shock that she reportedly dropped her infant child, quickly scrambling to shield the baby as the creature unfurled its massive wings. She later described the entity as having no visible head, with its large hypnotic red eyes set directly into its chest or upper shoulders. The group rushed into the house and bolted the doors, but the nightmare wasn't over. They listened in horror to the sound of heavy scratching on the window panes and saw that red glow peering through the glass. They remained huddled in the living room praying for dawn until the police finally arrived to escort them. To this day, the Bennett family maintains that the psychological trauma of that night changed their lives forever, leaving them with a permanent fear of the dark. The Mothman doesn't just target humans, it seems to have a disturbing effect on the animal kingdom as well. In Salem, West Virginia, a man named Newell Partridge was sitting in his living room when his television screen suddenly went black and began emitting a nauseating high-pitched whine. Outside on the porch, his dog Bandit, a prize-winning German Shepherd known for his bravery, began howling in a way that Partridge had never seen before. Partridge stepped outside with a heavy-duty flashlight and shined the beam towards his hay barn. In the darkness, he saw 2 red circles that looked like bicycle reflectors hovering several feet off of the ground. Before he could react, Bandit, normally a fierce protector, sprinted directly towards the glowing eyes and then vanished into the darkness. He was too terrified to follow, and the next morning he found giant unidentified tracks in the mud near the barn barn, but Bandit was gone. The dog was literally never seen again. This sighting remains one of the most somber accounts, suggesting that the creature may be more predatory than a simple messenger. Is the Mothman a monster, or is it a cosmic warning of a coming catastrophe? For 13 months, sightings plagued Point Pleasant, reaching a fever pitch before the darkest day in the town's history. On a frigid December evening, the Silver Bridge, which was packed with heavy rush hour traffic, suffered a catastrophic structural failure and plummeted into the icy Ohio River. Sadly, 46 people took their last breaths that day. In the weeks leading up to the collapse, dozens of witnesses claimed to see a dark winged figure perched atop the bridge's high suspension cables. Some even reported seeing it hovering over the water just hours before the metal gave way. This led to the chilling theory that the Mothman is a harbinger, an entity that only appears when a mass loss of life is imminent. Curiously, the sightings of Point Pleasant stopped almost immediately after the bridge fell. The creature had fulfilled its purpose, if you will, leaving the survivors to wonder if they had been warned or if the creature's very presence had somehow signaled the end. Fear travels across oceans, and the Mothman's wings seem to cast a global shadow. In the days leading up to the catastrophic nuclear disaster at Chernobyl, workers at the power plant and residents of the nearby town began reporting a terrifying entity that they called the Blackbird of Chernobyl. The descriptions were hauntingly familiar to the West Virginia accounts: a huge, headless man with a massive wingspan and glowing red eyes. But it wasn't just visual sightings. Some workers even claimed to receive strange, threatening phone calls at the plant, while others experienced vivid, shared nightmares of a great fire and screaming voices. Just like in Point Pleasant, once the reactor exploded and the tragedy unfolded, the Blackbird was never seen again. Was this the same entity traveling across the globe to witness or perhaps warn of another man-made disaster? The parallels between the Silver Bridge and Chernobyl are too striking for many paranormal researchers to ignore. Could a casual drive home lead to the most significant photographic evidence of a legend? In November 2016, a man who had recently moved to Point Pleasant for work was driving down Route 2 when he spotted something jumping from tree to tree. He pulled over and managed to snap 2 photos of a dark-winged figure with long, spindly legs bent in mid-air. The photos quickly went viral, being picked up by local news stations. Unlike many blurry Bigfoot photos, these images clearly show a humanoid shape with massive moth-like wings protruding from its back. Skeptics argue that it could be an owl with a large frog in its talons, but locals and enthusiasts pointed out that the scale of the creature compared to the surrounding trees made it far too large for any known bird in the region. The witness, who wanted to remain anonymous to avoid harassment, insisted that he didn't even believe in the Mothman until that very moment. The photos remain a cornerstone of modern Mothman evidence, reigniting the fear that the creature had returned to its original hunting grounds. If you think you're safe in a crowded, well-lit city, think again. Starting in 2011 and peaking in 2017, Chicago became the new ground zero for Mothman activity. One of the most terrifying and well-documented encounters was at OHare International Airport. 2 ground crew members were working on the tarmac late at night when they looked up and saw a solid black 7-foot-tall man with wings perched on top of a terminal building. As they watched in stunned silence, the creature leaped into the air and began circling the control tower. This wasn't just a fleeting glimpse. The sighting lasted several minutes and was backed by multiple other airport employees across different gates. The Chicago flap eventually resulted in over 100 reported sightings in just a few years, making it one of the most documented paranormal events in modern history. Pilots, FAA employees, and everyday travelers all reported seeing the same terrifying figure, proving that the Mothman can appear anywhere at any time. In the middle of the global pandemic, a new wave of fear hit the American Midwest. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, a man driving home late at night reported a creature that swooped down and actually struck his windshield with a heavy thud. He described the entity as having a human-like face, but with the body of a giant bat and eyes that seemed to glow with an internal fire, paralyzing him with fear. Unlike traditional birds that flee after an impact, this creature didn't fly away. It landed on the road directly in front of his car and watched him, its wings tucked behind its back like a dark cape. When he finally found the courage to drive around it, he saw it in his rearview mirror rising into the air with a single powerful thrust of its wings. The sighting was part of a larger cluster of reports in the Wisconsin and Illinois area, suggesting that the Mothman may be expanding its territory or that multiple entities of the same species are now active. Our final story brings us to the present day, showing that the phenomenon is far from over. Just last year, residents on the outskirts of Monterrey, Mexico captured chilling video footage of a dark-winged figure hovering over a residential neighborhood. The video clearly shows a large entity with a massive wingspan descending toward a wooded valley. Local eyewitnesses reported a foul, sulfur-like sulfur-like smell and a high-pitched metallic screeching sound that accompanied the sighting. Families stayed indoors, locking their doors as the creatures circled their homes. Local authorities conducted a search of the area the following morning but found no traces of a large animal or a downed craft. This recent event serves as a grim reminder that the Mothman isn't just a myth from the 1960s, it is a persistent, terrifying presence that continues to be seen by credible witnesses across the globe. Whether it's an omen, an alien, or an inhabitant of our world that we don't yet understand, one thing is for certain: if you see those red eyes, don't wait to find out what they are. From the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge to the modern day runways of OHare, the Mothman remains one of the most terrifying and persistent mysteries of our time. Is it a guardian, a herald of doom, or something from another dimension entirely? The evidence, from police records to digital video, is becoming harder and harder to ignore. We may never truly know what it wants, but we know that it's watching, and it usually appears when we are at our most vulnerable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think it's a warning or something more sinister? For now, I've been your host, Johnny Rogers, and I'll see you on the next one.